So when we last saw the Doctor and Sarah, they were on their way to London. Well, they didn't get there. In fact, I don't think they ever really do. Anyway, a little detour, and maybe I'm wrong, but at the opening there, I think there's room to say that they could have had a few other adventures along the way, but maybe not. TARDIS gets a distress signal, so the Doctor says, oh, well, we gotta check that out. So they head over to the planet Zeta Minor, where there's the, I don't know, some space people called Morestrians or something like that. Anyway, they're doing a geological study of this Zeta Minor planet. And, all of the crew's dead except for the leader of it, the Professor Sorensen, which already makes him suspicious. But also a rescue ship, a starship that looks like a vacuum cleaner, shows up, and they investigate, and of course they immediately suspect the Doctor and Sarah being murderers. They keep finding these shriveled up corpses everywhere. Turns out they're all being attacked by, the creature from the Forbidden Planet. Remember the id? Well, you know, the weird kind of outline looking animation that was used for the creature. Kind of the same thing here, but it's sort of a projection, if you will, from an intelligence from beyond the universe. It comes from the antimatter universe, and there's actually a hole in the ground that's basically a portal to the antimatter universe. And the planet is known or suspected of being the last planet in the known universe. So once you go beyond that one, there's nothing else. Of course, there's some wiggle room there, because as far as the Morestrians are known, this is the known universe. There could be other star systems, they just haven't found them yet. But the idea that it's just so beyond it on the outskirts, that the limits of space, that, there's a little hole that tore into it, and now there's a doorway between the universes. And Sorensen was wanting these minerals and whatnot that he was collecting. Well, those are all antimatter articles, and he wants to use this to create perpetual energy, because apparently on their home planet the sun is dying, and he figures he can regenerate it with this perpetual energy source and all that. You would think they could just, colonize some other planet, but, I guess he just wants to save the homestead, And so that's what he was driven to do. But unfortunately, he's been infected by the antimatter. And so apparently when you get infected with antimatter, instead of, exploding, you turn into a werewolf. And that's what he does. He keeps trying to treat it, but it's not going to work forever. And he starts murdering the other crew members and all this stuff. They go back and forth with believing the Doctor, then not believing him. And eventually they just kind of have to believe him. The captain ends up kind of losing his mind over all this, and his first officer or what have you ends up having to take over. And but the captain, I thought, well, he looks familiar. I'm sure I've seen him perhaps in other Doctor Who episodes, but also if you know Space 1999, he's got a mustache in that one, but it's the same guy. Not in charge there either. Poor bastard. There was just one chance at command, and, he kind of ruined it. But it wasn't really his fault. I mean, what was he supposed to suspect? You got these two strangers hanging around. There's dead bodies everywhere. It stood to reason, So that was the big deal. The creature wanted the antimatter to stay behind him and be thrown back in the pit, which the Doctor does. Somehow, some way, this restores Sorensen back to, they probably just should have said he was dead, but he comes back with the Doctor on the ship, and they're like, yeah, everything's great, and he just tells the Professor, oh, there's another way to, refuel your star and all that. But the guy was lying and deceiving his crew members, which result in several deaths. I don't see a bright future for this guy. For the very least, he should be serving a long prison sentence. So it's a little too happy for him. But the cool thing about it was this was shot completely on set, and it works. The weird, creepy jungle in some scenes was actually reminiscent of Dagobah in Star Wars. only the Doctor Who version is even more alien than that. And even a drone makes an appearance. Also, they call it an ocular tracker or what have you, a little eyeball thing flying around. But yeah, as a precursor to a drone, and they were spying on the Doctor and Sarah with that. So the sets were okay; they were good enough. I mean, some of it kind of looked, maybe it was some familiar stuff that they used in Pertwee's era and stuff. Can't quite pin it. Maybe the Dalek episode, but anyway. But it all works, kind of like a futuristic trailer house on the planet. And yeah, the ship, well, basically looks like some sort of shop vac thing, but doesn't matter, it works. And they take off. It's almost like it could have been the Enterprise showing up and crossing over. and they don't get along, you know. But the jungle scenery and what you'll see again later on, and other those props they'll keep around, but it was a good use of it. And of course, I go back and forth wondering what's more expensive. Is it more expensive to do the location? I imagine it is, just with the scheduling alone. But once they've got the sound stage, but then I forget what the rules are about how long you can use it and all this sort of thing. So maybe that's more, I don't know. But in a lot of ways, hey, it looks cheap, but the camera angles and the shots and the use of it, it makes it, you can get drawn into the story. Of course, the performances of your actors and whatnot lend credibility to it, so that you're within the story and you're not taken aback by effects that look kind of silly. I mean, they're in these little, white booties, and and their ray guns look like a toy you could buy at the drugstore or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It all works out and fulfills the overall structure of it that keeps you within the story, not enough to push you out of it. And so all well. The Doctor does fall into the pit and somehow comes back from it. That's never quite explained, and I guess Professor Sorensen came out the same way, or perhaps the antimatter people will say, look, we got our stuff, we're good, you can go. Maybe that's why. And the Doctor made contact with them somehow, and he informed them, I guess through telepathy or what have you, that he was a Time Lord, and he gave them a promise he would deal with this and restore their antimatter particles and whatnot. And he did. So maybe that's why they went ahead and said you can have Sorensen back. I don't know. But when he fell into the pit, for a good while in this episode, he doesn't have his scarf anymore. And when he falls into the pit, he couldn't use his scarf to lasso a nearby rock and climb back out. And this was an interesting, a brief foray in acknowledging that there are other universes. Here, the antimatter one, it's interesting because I just did my review of the alternative factor episode from Star Trek, which deals with the same thing in its own way. But very brief touches on other universes, which is something I think is lacking in Doctor Who. I think there should have been more, but, well, here you go. This is all you really get. And, of course, the problem of antimatter and matter and all that, and that's why it was so dangerous. Because at one point, Sarah said, look, we got the TARDIS, we could go. The Doctor says, yeah, but this could have far more serious ramifications than just a couple of idiots. So off they go. At first I was a bit I'm not quite sure. It seems that when the antimatter creatures attack people, it drains all the life force out of them and they become these shriveled corpses. But at the same time, it seemed like the tools were really old, whereas within the little base there, they seem to be all right, whereas the tool that the Doctor and Sarah find looks very old, and I kind of thought, oh, was this indicating a passage of time has happened? But I don't know. I guess this antimatter takes away the age of metal as well. I don't know, but little side note there. So yeah, there you go. Another nice little vignette of Doctor Who, still going strong with their new Doctor, and in the second season. Terror of the Zygons could have been a part of the last season. It's almost like it's a tail end of it, and this one could have been really the first episode of this season, because Terror of the Zygons seems very much a unit story, because it is, and here we're back in outer space. Not so much a space station in trouble, but a starship in trouble. But it works. And so, yeah, a good on-set deal. And, of course, once again, a crew that seemed certainly understood how to make use of lighting and angles to deliver a competent adventure for the Doctor. All right, thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you. Yes, that's right, you. Most notably, my comic book Night Night over at indieplanet.com. You can also catch my podcast, The Mr Nailsin Show, over at radiomisfits.com. And if you so desire, you can also watch my videos over at BitChute, because as of now, it has more than YouTube does, because I'm moving my Nailsin news cartoons there. They won't be here anymore. So, little Nailsin news about the channel here for you, if you stayed this long. Anyway, thanks again for watching and listening. We'll do it again soon. Bye-bye.